astrobiologist Milton Wainwright claims that his team of researchers just found a tiny metal sphere in the Earth's stratosphere that's oozing a gooey substance and is offering up the theory that aliens may have sent it to propagate life on Earth. What the hell do you make of this discovery?
It could be BS. I mean, you really have to talk to some people who actually understand the data and what the images might or might not represent, or what the particle might. I mean, I think you have to get a lot of different opinions when it comes to these things. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people like to say things because they know that someone like you will bring it up on television, or someone will click on it or get a lot of Twitter hits. I would be skeptical. But on the other hand, I think it is entirely possible that a race could plan something like that in the future, if not the human race. I don't think it's improbable at all if we discover that one of these various planets that they've discovered, there's like hundreds, thousands of them now. And if we could find one that's in that Goldilocks zone, and we found out that there was, in fact, no life on it, I don't think it's improbable at all that they would use that thing as some sort of a terrarium or a zoo in the sky and send some genetic material its way and, you know, see what happens. I don't even think people would think that was unethical. If we found out that there was no intelligent life, mammalian life, insect life, lizards, nothing but plants on this one particular planet, I think it's very probable that we would mess around and send something over there just to see, as an experiment, what happened.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of transporting life from one planet to the next, I mean, in Neil deGrasse Tyson's epic series Cosmos, he talks about how asteroids could have been the transportation system for the building blocks of life, not only on Earth, but from Earth to other planets and other galaxies, and kind of circling all back around. Do you agree with the theory, considering how microbes have been found here on Earth that can survive space radiation?
Well, as a confirmed moron, whenever Neil deGrasse Tyson says anything, I automatically agree with him.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, that term, though, panspermia, has been around for a while, or that theory. And it makes sense. I mean, there's parts of the moon in Antarctica. There's parts of other planets that planets get hit with asteroids, pieces break off, pieces go into orbit, pieces somehow or another make it to us. That kind of stuff happens in the universe. I mean, I had a guy on my podcast recently. His name is Randall Carlson, and he's an expert in these impact disaster scenarios, like how many different times the Earth has been hit, the extinction events like the one that hit the Yucatan and killed the dinosaurs. Like, there's chunks of rock and stuff in space that's constantly hitting other planets. Pieces break off, and that is a possible transportation vehicle for life. In a way, it's like nature's own spaceship. It literally can bring the building blocks, amino acids, and all sorts of building blocks of life to other planets, including water. I mean, I've read that they believe that most of the water that came on Earth, or that's on Earth right now, has probably come from, like, comet collisions.
There's this huge debate raging, of course, on Earth right now, whether aliens have tried to contact us. DeGrasse Tyson makes the point that they very well could have been trying to send us messages throughout the universe for millions and millions of years, but humanity on Earth, of course, only has the technology to read them for a very small blip of time. I mean, only 100 years or so. Joe, why do you think so many people are convinced that aliens have already visited Earth and there's an international conspiracy to cover it up?
Because it's sexy. Yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting to think that Daddy's out there waiting to tell us what's wrong with the world. I mean, that's what aliens are. Essentially, it's the atheist God. I mean, a lot of people that are really, really into aliens are also atheists. And I think we as tribal beings, we as these, at one point in time, we were ancient, you know, when we were hominids, primates, we had this alpha male structure where there was always a leader. And that one leader today is essentially the president, right? I mean, we have this structure where we have this one leader. And I think when we know that everybody is kind of clueless, at a certain point in time in your life especially, you start looking at just the overall big picture of the infinite universe and the fact that you have a finite life and you're trying to accumulate as much understanding about what this is all about as you can while you're here for 90 whatever years if you're lucky, and that freaks us out. And we would like to think that someone out there is more advanced and is ahead of us, like a daddy, that can tell us what's wrong and what's going on. And that, I think, there's like an instinctual desire to look for that alpha. And I think in a lot of intelligent people, that is aliens. That is some advanced culture that has figured out how to bypass all the monkey nonsense that we're currently involved with war and famine and all the different craziness, violence, and all the horrible things, drug addiction, that this culture has moved past that and has gone to this new place, and they could help us. They could help us pull ourselves out of this primordial muck that we find ourselves in right now.
The primordial ooze.
So I think it's an instinctive inclination to think that there's something out there. And then there's also the more intelligent people you talk to, the more they start talking about the vastness of what is actually the term infinity, and that it's not just likely that there's other life out there, but it's very, very probable. In fact, they believe that the universe is so huge that what infinity really represents is, Brian Cox tried to explain this to me when he was on my podcast, and I kind of get it, but what it means is that not only is there another Abby Martin, but there's another me talking to another Abby Martin. We've said the exact same things an infinite number of times. Like, there's no, every pause, that I just did, all that has been replicated to the nanosecond an infinite number of times throughout the cosmos. That's how big this thing really is. So it's not a matter of whether or not there are aliens out there. You're out there. I'm out there, and we're aliens.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's an infinite number of us. So there is life. It might not be something other than us, though. That's the weird thing. It is possible. I mean, it's not probable, but because everything that is possible in an infinite universe is probably, it probably exists. But it is possible that this is as good as it gets, and that where we are right now is as smart as any life form has ever achieved. That is possible too. And that's terrifying to us because we know we're idiots. We look at our behavior, we look at our wars, we look at the deficit and crime, and we look at the financial market and speculations and the fact that it's all stock market trades are being run by algorithms. It's chaos. It's craziness. And we hope there's someone better. We hope that we see the flaws in our own system, and we hope that someone out there in the cosmos has nailed it. But it's possible that the reason why we have advanced so much more, we have so much more technological ability than the other animals that are on this planet, it might just be because we're aware of this thing. We're aware of how bad we are. We're aware of how much potential we have, and we look towards an alien or a god or something as being some divine being that has conquered all the things that hold us from achieving our true potential. People get really hooked on this idea that it's definitely happened and that we've been contacted, and then they obsess on it. When you really look at the evidence, and I've really looked at as much of the evidence as I could get a hold of in a week or so. I mean, obviously there's people that have done way more research than me, but when we did that sci-fi show, Joe Rogan Questions Everything, and we started talking to people that have had alien encounters and alien abductions, boy, a lot of it seems like a lot of it, like a huge percentage. A lot of it seems like convenient memories that have in time, like you take your memory and in time you sort of add things to it and tweak it around, and then it becomes like a real memory to you. But the reality of what you actually saw in comparison to the reality of the actual event that you're recanting over and over again for decades is probably quite a bit different.
Right. I mean, that's the problem, is like people like Dr. Stephen Greer, the Disclosure Project's really interesting, and there's a lot of like high-level, politicians and government officials who have seen UFOs. But then again, we're living in the drone age, and who knows what technology existed 50 years ago that we didn't know about. Yeah. It's just really, really interesting.
There's a lot of woo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of woo going on with that. That's a big part of that stuff. It's sexy to think that the aliens have visited us, but it's also possible that they never have. It's also possible that all these things that you see that are unidentified, that all of them are of human creation. It's possible that aliens, if they are smart enough to get here, they're also smart enough to be invisible. I mean, they could be watching this right now, standing right here, laughing at us. Like, these idiots think we're going to fly around on a plate. Like, we're right here, dude. We travel back and forth whenever we want, and we don't exist in a physical form. So you can't see us. You don't have the senses to detect us. I mean, it's incredibly possible that if you're dealing with multiple dimensions that we don't understand, like if you listen to string theorists, They're talking about 11 to 15 possible dimensions. We're only capable of seeing a few of those. So it is possible that some advanced being that exists in these other dimensions, this is where it gets really crazy, might not just be able to come visit us, but they might be here all the time, and we just can't detect them because we simply don't have the ability. Just like if you didn't have a nose, you wouldn't be able to detect smells. Like you wouldn't know that smells were a real thing. You would have no idea. If you had no sense of smell, you would have no idea that things smell different, that leather smells different than cheeseburgers. All of this is a normal, everyday thing to a human being. But it's only normal because it's been a part of our life our entire lives. If it never existed, the concept of smell would be completely alien. Well, it's quite possible that there's a bunch of different dimensions all around us all the time that are like that in a way. And if there are aliens that exist in these dimensions, they come to visit us, how the f would we know? We would have no idea.
Right.
We're talking about possibilities. We're talking about, I just don't think they're going to come in like spaceships with big silver Klaatu helmets on. It seems goofy. The gray head, the big black eyes. It seems so archetypal that I smell and I might be wrong. I mean, it's very possible that people have come, but it's also possible that people are having crazy dreams, and then they convince themselves that they're real, and then they believe that there's aliens that are coming to visit them, and that makes them more interesting than everybody else. It makes them special. Someone has finally recognized that they're special.
Right. I mean, what about everyone just having kind of a collective DMT kind of release in their brain and having these alien encounters? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because it is weird how everyone kind of has the same contact, and the same story. And who are we to say that your interpretive experience of reality is false? Then again, is it a psychedelic experience? I don't really know. But of course we have humans.
It could be even crazier than that. I'm sorry. It could be even crazier than that. It could be both. It could be just a dream, but that dream could in fact be a real experience. Like you're actually making contact with alien life forms. It could be that there are passages when you are dreaming, when you're having this deep REM sleep, where you achieve some sort of an entrance into these potential other dimensions. That could be a part of the dream state. So when people have these crazy abduction experiences while they're sleeping, and they go on spaceships and they communicate with aliens that explain what's wrong with the nature of man and how to fix it and how to fix the world, stop polluting and how to clean up your environment, it is possible that's really happening too. The idea of a dream, we look at the idea of a dream like, oh, it's just a dream. But what does that really mean? We don't exactly know what the f a dream is. We know that we look forward to sleeping. We know that we shut off every night with no hesitation. No one's scared to go to sleep. Everyone's scared to die, but no one's scared to go to sleep. And when you shut off and you lose control and you have these crazy memories of these wild things that happen to you in your dream, it's quite possible that what that is just a non-physical reality that you're dipping your consciousness into. And it might not be something you could put on a scale or hit with a hammer, but it's quite possible that like psychedelic trips, like ayahuasca experiences or DMT experiences, those are all based on normal human neurochemistry that exists in your brain. And they believe exists during heavy REM sleep. And they believe, and there's some evidence that points to it now because of Rick Strassman's work with the Cottonwood Research Group, where they've isolated the pineal gland as being an actual producing element or agent of DMT. Like your pineal gland for a long time was just speculative, but now they've proven, at least in rats, that your pineal gland actually produces this incredibly potent psychedelic chemical. So it's possible that much like psychedelic experiences feel real, dreams, although it's obviously you're not really running from Godzilla on a skateboard with your cousin Mike, but when you're having this dream about that, you might be entering into this non-physical experience that is potentially something that is really taking place, not just with you, but with other people. You can have collective dreams on psychedelic chemicals. Insane. It's possible that we just don't know how to tune into whatever that might be. Or it's possible I smoke way too much weed, and this is all crazy talk. That's possible, too.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, humans are now trying to colonize other planets themselves. 100 people were just selected as finalists to be the first 24 individuals to live on Mars with the Mars One reality show project. Experts are saying that